Have you been told you must hate men if you hyphenated or kept your last name after marriage? In the 13 years since I got married and hyphenated my last name, I've been told literally hundreds of times by men that I must hate men because I didn't completely remove my last name and use only my husband's. I mentioned this in comment in a different sub. It was a relevant thread, and I have a guy absolutely losing his mind about how I'm just making this up for attention. What? To be honest, I'm kind of surprised even the most dedicated misogynist would try to deny there are millions of men out there who are offended when women hyphenate or keep their last names after marriage. I really thought it was just common public knowledge that there are a lot of men who get wildly offended at this? Like to the point of rage so explosive it seems violent? I certainly know I'm not alone. How many of you have experienced this? Edit. A lot of people have been asking me about what kind of area I'm in. So I figured I would add that I am in a very conservative area. And this happens primarily when people see my name written out. Like for example, our dental hygienist asked my husband how much it bothered him how mad he is that I hyphenated instead of just taking his name. And when I interact on Nextdoor, my whole full name is there and I get at least one nasty comment about it literally every time. After a few years I removed my last name entirely from Facebook BC. Probably once a week I was getting some guy, sometimes in local groups but sometimes just on a random public FB pages, interrupting some conversation I'm having with someone else to tell me I must hate men because of my last name. It has been super frequent for me, and based on these comments it seems like a lot of it has to do with where I live. I really appreciate so many people commenting on this. This is the first time I've posted here, but I am a frequent lurker and occasional commenter. Love this community. This reminds me of a tweet. I don't hate men, but I've learned not to prioritize their needs over mine. Turns out, for a lot of men, that's the same thing. Not that harshly, but a coworker once asked me, "What does your husband think of that?" She was hoping I would tell her that, as she firmly assumed he hated it, but I didn't. I told her that my husband is a feminist and therefore believes I have the right to make my own choice in the matter. I'm not married, but have always said if I did marry I'd keep my surname, and if I had children they would have it too. It hasn't even happened, and some men I've told are beside themselves at the mere thought. Outraged on behalf of my non-existent husband. A lot are very quick to point out that it's not equality if everyone has to take my surname. Which of course it isn't. But they don't seem to realize that they're proving my point. Oh, the irony. People are weird about this. My mother kept her maiden name. I have my father's last name. When I was little, I would always add my mother's name into my own. I felt that she should be represented in my name. She thought it was cute. I said if I ever got married I would just keep my name or have my husband take mine. I was always told this was completely ridiculous. My husband took my last name. Kept my last name. Never heard that in 33 years. However, things are weird AF right now, so I wouldn't be surprised to hear it happening. The worst thing that happened was my daughter's 4th grade teacher telling me how great my husband and I were doing co-parenting. You know, because of the divorce. Then every man who hasn't changed their name upon marriage must hate women too. They tell on themselves with statements like this. Why assume it means a woman is hateful unless they're admitting the tradition of men keeping their names in marriage comes from a place of hatred? I mean, it's a given that patriarchy wasn't for the benefit of women even a little bit. It's the idea that when you marry a man you give up your own identity and become Mrs. his last name. Unfortunately, it's been part of many cultures for many years, so choosing something different is seen as hostile by very traditional people. I've been married twice and didn't change my name. I like my name. And no extra trips to DMV. I think I was asked why I didn't take my husband's name twice. My reply: why should I? No one had a decent answer to this. It's just 'cause no one owns me. There are cultures where this is okay. I'm Hispanic and seeing hyphenated last names is so not uncommon. So these men need to really branch out and get out of their own culture for a bit. In Quebec, it's illegal to take your spouse's name anyways. I think all of North America should follow suit. Gosh. Such a man-hater to marry a man and not suppress your surname only for his to shine snorts. Storing this info for later if I ever get hitched. I'd love to share my wide smile with easily triggered men. I had a colleague who didn't believe in marriage, but had a lifelong partner and a kid. Her last name was something like Fireman and his was like Smithson, and they gave the kid a last name of Firesmith. When she told me, I said cool, but it was clear she was ready to give a long-winded defense, as I think my reaction was unusual. Now I am wondering what sorts of opinions she had heard over the years. You should reverse Uno them. I love my father. I don't want his name to disappear. Kidding. Of course. WTF? Wow. I don't understand how someone could think you hate men because you hyphenated your name. When I was married, my now ex-wife wanted to change her name. I didn't care. I said that I wouldn't mind what she did hyphenate. Keep your name. Or take mine. My ex told me I should hand over the kids to him since I don't share their last name. He was offended throughout our marriage and still afterwards. I think men get caught up on being traditional for some things and not for others. It does have disadvantages, but not a big deal. I like my name the way it is. I've been married with a hyphenated last name Edit for more than 20 years and I have never heard this said to me. And I used to work in tech. Is this a southern thing or something? I'm in Philly. I can't imagine anyone saying this to me here. Probably because they expect to be clobbered. What? No. My husband and I both changed our last names to something different that we liked better. I've never been told this. Nor have my 3 friends who didn't change their names asked them. I'm sorry you have to interact with these kinds of men. I mean, my partner and I hyphenated our last names after marriage. We are both cis men. I guess that makes us both men haters, then person shrugging light skin tone. It's so dumb. Because surnames are literally dad's surnames who are men themselves last time I checked. My bill implied that I wasn't committed to my relationship with my husband. Person shrugging. I just add it to my reasons to think he's a moron. If a guy wants his name on my papers, he better be a co-author. Me, I don't think I'm going to take your name. I just had new business cards printed and I renewed my passport. Hubs lol K makes sense. I'm baffled that that somehow translates to hate. How about this? My last name came from my father who, last time I checked, is a man. And your point is? I've been pretty vocal about keeping my last name if I were to get married. And my mom has a hyphenated last name. Neither of us have heard that from men. Although we do get general weirdness confusion from people that are like, why don't you want to keep things simple? Anyway, I'm not saying that hasn't been your experience and I'm not trying to discount it. That's so wild that men would react that way lol. But when a man's wife takes on his name, no one ever asks if he hates women. So this is just another double standard we best dismantle. Keep or get the name you want. Get double hyphens if you want. No, never. Sometimes I'll get a why didn't you change your name and I'll tell them,